Lovely to finally get together.
Yes.
It's been a long time coming. And relish the opportunity to finally sit down and chat to you. We're in your beautiful home in Uluwatu. I understand that you've been here for quite some time now.
A few 5 years. I've generally done a 5-year plan
Okay.
in Bali. And in the rest, I've been here for 3 5-year plans.
Okay. So we're talking 15 on you.
About 15 years, yeah.
So you've seen the changes happen around you?
Seen a lot of change, yeah, up here, definitely. And then you would go back further and say the people who came in the 70s said the same thing in the 80s and the 90s, right? I think it's just gone kind of exponential growth in the last couple of years since COVID. So
waves of change.
Yeah, a lot quicker, most recently, with the advent of everything, right? Digitalization of the planet and, the ability to instantaneously see what's going on in every single part of the world. And especially here, people realized after COVID, lifestyle versus, I suppose compromising what you want to do with your life. Bali is an epic place to be. And then Uluwatu was kind of an untapped gem, which is now getting tapped
properly.
Yeah.
We stayed over at Canggu when we first arrived, and you can kind of see that growth firsthand.
Yeah.
And I've had many interesting conversations with different people about their sort of views on whether this growth is positive and negative. And I think, like you say, change is inevitable, and there's been waves of change throughout Bali over the centuries, basically.
Yeah.
And this is just a new wave, but someone said to me that, the island has a way of resetting itself in due course if the energy is not, what the island wants.
I don't know what that means exactly. It sounds like revolution or a natural cataclysm.
And after these conversations I've been having, I just wonder if that's the island saying, you're putting a little too many pins and needles in my back.
I don't know. It's one of those things, we can say that in the biggest cycles of life, the larger time frames, this planet definitely has gone through incredible change, like ice age, meteorites, massive volcanic eruptions, tectonic movement, earthquakes. Who's to say? I suppose that takes us away from the present, right? Of living fully in the today and embracing the change.
Yeah.
I lived down that way for about 8 years in Brawa area.
Okay, yes.
And there was a day when I realized that it was just like, we're starting to turn into kind of suburbia. Went from rice paddies and natural living to like concrete. And it seemed to happen overnight. It seems to be happening everywhere where people that's desirable anyway, Cost of living is expensive. The ability to do business is relatively easier. Let's say, if you're creative here in Bali and Indonesia, you can make cool things at a fraction of the cost that you might do it in Australia or the States or UK or I don't know so much about South Africa with productions, but I had lived in the States, I lived in Australia, I lived in Hong Kong, all great places to live for many different reasons. But Bali, I think, just offers something really special when it comes to living, lifestyle, beauty. You can get away from these places. Like we're here at Ulu, and it's busy. Canggu's busy. Obviously, Denpasar's insane. And there are other pockets, but then the rest of the island is relatively unspoiled. Jungle, East Bali, like Ahmed and Tulamben, and then West Menjanga, and there's so much more to explore on this island. That's what I love. I'm here because I'm superficial. I love waves, and I've always chased waves. I can't be superficial. I've been a wave, I'm not say addict, but a wave lifestyle hunter for the last 30 plus years. And this place offers it all. It's incredibly rich. And as well as that, I love this island. This island just has a special energy. And I think that's underpinned by the people, by the culture, by the beautiful, diverse, layered nature of the Balinese traditions, which continues to attract me. There is a sublime energy mostly underneath it. Money seems to change people, but I think underneath it, there's still the magic. You just got to dig a little bit deeper to see the magic here. Once again, get out of this area, even in this area, like
Yeah.
Uluwatu Temple's down the road. It's an incredible place. I go there sometimes at night. I've got a friend of mine, Putu, and we go and sometimes go full moon or go at night and just sit. Full moons tend to be busier, so not just full moons, but it's just a beautiful place. It's like I almost pay homage and say thank you for enabling me, allowing me to surf the waves. And I feel the same way when I'm in the water looking back at the cliffs. Look up at Uluwatu Temple, I'll be like, just thank you.
Yeah.
Intrinsic like gratitude for.
And then a broken tooth just next to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's another story.
We sit here in this beautiful place that you've built, and you've carved out a little slice of paradise here. And I think what you've done in terms of like your respectfulness in the way in which you've built will go more in depth as to what I've spotted about the style at which you like to build and you like to construct. But I think that was the biggest jolt for me. Not so much just the influx of people in Bali, but the biggest jolt for me lies at the heart of architecture. And my question would be that would the jolt be less harsh if people were more sort of respectful of building in a more traditional way? Because when we drive through Canggu, I can't help but feel it feels a little bit like Disneyland in terms of a lot of the architecture being so displaced and so visually, like for me it's like a visceral violation almost. Like
I think it's a global issue, to be honest. So in the sense of like globalization just homogenizing and making everything straight.
Gentrification.
Yeah, I think it's, you look anywhere, any city now, it's like you look at those classic photos of what the town square used to look like. This incredible architecture with beautiful buttresses and attention to detail. And now it's just like, almost like, I don't want to say Stalin-esque.
Which is brutal. Brutalism.
Right? And then same here, same in Jakarta, same in any major city in the world now. So to answer your question, I like to use local materials as much as I can. Woods, primarily. This is a langalang. I don't think I would build a langalang again for a few reasons.
Okay.
But there are the other options.
In terms of the wood, is the wood called a langalang?
No, the
style.
thatch roof.
This woven.
But this is woven. I wouldn't do that again for a few reasons.
Right.
It's like,
okay.
It's not ideal, but it's beautiful and it's romantic and it's kind of, Instagrammable.
Sure.
But it's not really functional. It's not aesthetically, it looks nice, but functionality. So to go back to your question in relation to that, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's unfortunate. It just seems to be the human race. We're just like, more is better. We veer away from like being more attentive to our surroundings and living in more symbiosis and synergy with, but I have a real vivid recollection memory. I was in Peru in 1994 and I walked that Inca trail to Machu Picchu, and I remember coming over this one valley, one rise, and then looking at this valley, and there was this incredible stone structures on the trail. So I don't know how many kilometers in from where we started, and it was just stone hewn like the Machu Picchu or like the other ruin in Cusco, Sacsayhuaman. It was perfectly fitted to the mountain. It was almost like they went, how can we be in nature and not take away from the curves and the undulations and the movement and build more as if they were talking to the surroundings and as if they were communicating. It was like a dance. And that to me made a real strong impression because it was just like, we can do that. We can be way more harmonious, but it's not about the end expectation, the result of modifying it, or what's the word, capitalizing on it. That's the thing. Like, I think that's a slower road as opposed to the quick bang, bang, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Let's get it up. Let's get trading. Let's get, because it's human nature, right?
Sure. Yeah. Look, I mean, I think that we could talk for hours on how Bali has changed. But I think let's go back to, growing up. We had a brief discussion earlier, and I understand you've had quite a fortunate upbringing in that you've got to experience several cultures. You grew up you were born in Hong Kong, right?
Correct, yes. Born in Hong Kong. As was my mother, and my grandparents were born in Shanghai and Harbin. So essentially refugees from Eastern Europe. ended up in
Harbin. Did you say
Harbin? Yeah,
that's very north.
that's right on the border of Russia. So Siberia.
Yeah.
Well,
They have proper winters up there.
dude, cold.
Yeah,
as heck, you know, they're cold. My grandfather used to tell a joke. He needed 2 people to have a conversation with another person. One to speak, one to thaw the words out with a candle, right? Yeah, cold place. So my grandfather was born in Shanghai, my grandma was born in Harbin, and my mother was born in Hong Kong, and I was born in Hong Kong. So technically I'm Chinese, but I'm not by definition. I'm still Caucasian. But that also begs to ask the question of, you know, borders and, you know, countries and, you know, nationalities. But then we won't go there. But I was born in Hong Kong, and then I was fortunate enough to go to school in the UK. I went to school in England from about the age of 9 until 17. Then I moved, fortunately, was given the opportunity to move to Hawaii. My dad loved Hawaii for a few reasons. And so I was given the opportunity, and I moved to Hawaii when I was 17. And basically, I'd surfed and always been an ocean worshiper and an ocean appreciator. From a very young age, I was a pretty avid swimmer as well. And so I just was like a fish in the ocean. So when I moved to Hawaii, I really started my love affair with waves and surfing. We surfed in Hong Kong growing up. There was a couple of places you could surf. But Hawaii was the place that was like the crucible for me. It catalyzed my love. So when I was 17, I moved there. And yeah, I've had the good fortune of traveling pretty much all over this planet over the last 30 plus years. Primarily, not just surfing, but I suppose ocean motivated. But then again, I rode a bicycle. I did an amazing journey from Prague. I rode a bicycle to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem, through, you know, like Austria and Slovenia and into Croatia briefly. The war was happening. It was like 94-3. And then Italy, and then Albania, Greece, you know, Turkey, Israel, which was an amazing journey.
Sure.
With literally on fumes, hardly any money. Like I had $100.
Wow.
No phones, right? Remember those days?
Oh yes, definitely.
No maps.
For sure.
You know, no connection.
Yeah.
You know, basically
Road signs.
your wit and, you know, your road signs.
Dogs.
Yeah, pretty much just like having to talk to people. You know,
Which way do I go?
yeah, in sign language. In Albanian, I was
Which
supposed
teaches you a bunch of humility, right? When you're having to ask for something, like inadvertently, it teaches you humility.
But I was on a bicycle, so I think people were like kind of tripping. They're like, you know,
where are you?
like one of us, you know, whoa, this, you know, it's not like, you know, I'm in a fancy car or a caravan or a motorcycle. I was on a bicycle pedaling. I had a didgeridoo and a drum, so I was busking in some places, trying to make a couple of whatever currency I was, you know, dinars or shekels or whatever it was, you know what I mean?
You play guitar, you play didgeridoo. What other instruments?
I played a bit of drums.
Drums.
Okay.
Okay.
And I love music, right?
Yeah.
So I'll happily pick up whatever I play. Whatever, you know, I'm happy to just sit and jam. Percussion, probably I have a natural affinity to percussion, but I also play a bit of guitar, and, you know, I've played didge for like 30 years now. Not as much as I used to, but I can still pick up a didge and make a sound.
Wow.
I love music. I love that. I love playing on my own, but I also love playing with people. It's just, you know, you can relate. Just that give and take of energy, and just sitting and creating music and meditating, stepping out of the mind and being more spontaneous and in the moment.
Yeah, it's conversations, but in a different way.
Yes.
Through music.
Yeah.
Expression through music. Yeah. Music is powerful. Again, we could chat for hours about instruments.
Have we deviated again?
I see instruments. I see snowboards in the background.
Like
We're sitting here and we've got a room full of hot-butted cosmic spray boards. Jake is the founding member of the infamous Drifter surf store in Uluwatu. And if you have the opportunity of walking into Drifter, you met with just bright colors everywhere. And again, you've got this I hate this word, but this juxtaposition of resin and boards and colors and this dark wood, you know, and this beautifully constructed Balinese style. What is that called? That
Limasan.
Limasan.
It's a bigger joggler. Jogglers are smaller.
Yeah.
Gladax would be like rice barns.
Yeah.
And then Limasan's a bit bigger, like, you know, back in the day, merchants or minor, you know, government agents or princes. Depends on the size and the shape, right?
Right.
Drifter, yeah.
Big beams. You can smell the wood.
It's a beautiful building, that one.
Smell the coffee. All the fresh juices. When I first started chatting to Jake, I was like, they were making all these old cold pressed juices, and it's a vibe. So you've got to visit there. And thanks to this man, it is there. What inspired you, and why did you want to create that space?
Well, there was the initial incarnation is in Seminyak.
Okay.
Down on Jalan Obere.
Right.
Jalan Kayu Ayu, Jalan Obere. And that was as a result of just looking at the surf, I suppose, industry, surf retail options, and seeing a opportunity or a niche or an area that was needed to be represented, and that was more on the creative artists and left of center brands and people in that particular genre and world, and that weren't represented cohesively under one roof. There might be a bit of this somewhere, or, it was like we had brands at the beginning, like, back in the day with Rhythm and Salties and, Patagonia, and Freedom Artists and all these kind of different ones that were kind of more art-based, and Ruka back in the day when they were doing
the art program
collaborations. I still got one or two pieces from that. And then, funky surfboards, books, and obviously art and records, and then good coffee. Just makes sense. We're intelligent. It's like we appreciate surf culture, but then there's a much bigger world in and amongst the surf culture that, that we can represent. So that's what Drifter was originally. And Drifter, we're friends, both Tim, who I founded Drifter with, and I were both friends with Ron Machado. And so we, at that time, the Drifter movie had kind of come out in that same kind of time period. So we could age it, actually. When was that? 2009, maybe 2008.
Wow.
Something like that.
Feels like yesterday.
I know, right? It's an iconic movie. I've got the Malali sessions to the outtakes, which is pretty cool. Anyway.
And you got the boards at Drifter.
Yeah. So we had some of Rob's boards. I ride Rob's boards still. I love Rob's boards. Obviously he's the cat, but his boards are killer as well. I've really been digging my Seaside. Anyway. So the Drifter experience was kind of birthed at a similar time. There were other things popping off. Like you had like Mollusk. Mollusk in San Francisco, Mollusk in Venice. They'd done an amazing job. Dahlia Street back in the time. Pilgrim. I think some of those are a little bit after, but there's kind of this shift and change away from the big box brands who are kind of moving away from core surf. Kind of homogenization, capitalization, like bigger, offerings and department stores and all that kind of stuff. No need to mention any names. And so Drifter was just a point of difference. And then throw in coffee, like you said, and throw in healthy food. So Seminyak flourished. Our shop down there flourished. It started in a small, like 50-meter square.
What year did you open that?
That was like 2008, 2009.
Okay.
Well, look at when Drifter was made.
Yes. I will do.
I think probably 2008, 2009. And it had traction, and people appreciated it. And you could get wax, get sunscreen. There was nowhere else in that area. You'd go to Kuta at that point. It's like Jungle Surf or those big shops down in Kuta. And we offered there was nothing really going in Canggu yet. So get wax, sunscreen, leashes, you know what I mean?
Yes.
As well as obviously, funky teas and whatever else, books.
Yeah.
And so that flourished, and then it became bigger, and then people really embraced us and appreciated it. And then Ulu's was born in I think 2016. Well, it was more like Bingen. It's kind of, so 2016, so it's like 8 years now.
Yeah.
8-9 years.
3 years before COVID.
Yeah. Could be 15 maybe. Anyway, time, right?
Yeah.
We lose back as you get older. It becomes less. Maybe he just.
We do and we don't. We keep track of the grays and we lose track of the time.
Yeah, so Drifter was a natural reaction to the surf industry, offering a house for alternatives and artists and creators, like I said. So I really loved the creative part. I loved being in that spirit, getting juiced up by just the opportunities, because there's so many, right? Working with all these amazing artists and Andy Davises and, Rob Machado, and, like, there's so many to name who can, so many, like, so yeah, Drifter was a passion, and I loved it to the day I stopped being an owner. I sold my shares a few years ago. It was just time. I'd done it for 15 plus years, and it was just time for change. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the legacy is there.
Definitely.
It's still there in the spirit of what you brought to the table in terms of what you've created.
We were kind of the first in up
live on.
here. Yeah, we were kind of the first in up here on the Bukit, really. There were a couple of other, like, locations that were solid, but as far as that zone where it is now, it's just gone completely bananas. The whole area is just like, Canggu.
Yeah, there we go. But there's that respectfulness that you've got there. You've got this beautiful, as I say, it feels like Bali when you walk in there. It feels like Bali.
Yeah.
And you've sort of encapsulated that spirit of Bali the way it used to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, I think, anyway. And to go in there and turn a corner and see the masks and see the spear guns, the handmade spear guns. You're a bit of a skin diver yourself.
Yeah, I spear. I've been spearing for a long, long time. I love to spear.
Yeah.
It's kind of a catch-22. You want to sell spear guns, but then you don't want to sell spear guns because it's even more, tight-lipped than surfing is about where we fish. And
well, I mean, you've got Panida just on your doorstep, and that's like,
go and explore
the best. I would say some of the biggest, gnarliest fish you're going to see that close to.
All right. Yeah, incredible.
Incredible.
And insane currents and deep and got everything, like whirlpools and giant animals. Oh, yeah.
And you've explored it quite extensively.
Yeah, I have. I've done a lot of diving there over the years.
Sure.
But there's a couple of spots that are like back in the day, world record dogtooth tuna.
Yeah.
I've seen giant fish. I've seen barracuda, like prehistoric dinosaurs.
Sure.
Mollas and giant GTs, like world record. If you were in that, you wanted to world record GTs, right? World record doggies, wahoo, you name it, everything there, and crazy deep currents, whales and sharks and everything. It's a pretty wild place.
Yeah, it's
like the North Shore of spearfishing.
There we go. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, and diving for that matter.
Yeah. And you've got to know what you're doing there. And even the beauty of it is that some of those fish are so damn big, you're not going to peg it anywhere, right?
That's
just like, no matter how big that spear is, you just watch in awe as they cruise.
Yeah, some of them are, I mean, like you say, it's a dangerous place. I've known a couple people pass away diving over there. So you can never be too careful because the down currents, there's pretty wicked down currents there, which you don't experience in a lot of places. If you hunt big pelagics like dogtooth tuna, one of the pinnacle pelagics that you could even call it a pelagic. It is a pelagic, but it does live off reefs. They generally hang out in areas that have a lot of current and drop-offs with lots of food like bait fish around. And generally speaking, there's crazy down currents. You get caught in these wild down currents, which is super dangerous. Scuba divers get taken all the time over there.
Really, huh?
Yeah, because they come off, just because it's that much water moving. It's like in between two, like the Wallace lines right there. So two tectonic plates. So it's a really deep trench. And then you throw in like all this crazy water moving, giant tidal movements. And
you got this down current.
And then you got these reefs that pop out and then water hits it and then creates these insane currents. You can see it if you're diving with a line attached to floats, buoys. You can be aware when the line starts dipping, because they go across the surface.
Yeah.
And I've spent many, 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 many hours underwater there. And I don't have the same drive anymore to catch trophy fish as I used to.
Yeah, where do you get your drive from? Where do you get the inspiration, the drive, and the energy to want to pursue? I mean, and not just pursue, but you seem to really go full tilt at whatever you put your mind to, whether it be snowboarding, collecting boards, building beautiful structures, and surfing, skin diving, playing instruments. What else should I add to that list?
children.
Conversation.
3. No, I don't even know we're going to go down that road.
You don't like Sting?
No, Sting, not on that level. I mean, I definitely appreciate, respect Sting as usual, and he's an advanced yogi.
Yes.
Children.
Yeah.
Children have been, got 3
Got it.
that I, with my wife, Vanessa. We have 3 kids. We have a son who's 18, Flynn, who's a beautiful surfer, very stylish, and he's currently living in Sydney. Got out of the Uluwatu vortex.
Okay.
And
But this is where he was schooled, right?
Pretty much. He was born and raised most of his formative years here. And then I have twins, girls, Ziggy and Hanale.
Yes, I see Ziggy's doing really well as well.
Ziggy's performing. She's doing amazing in the surf world, and Hanale is doing really well. She's very creative and fiery. She's got the fire. She's got chili.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ziggy is a very talented surfer. She's a competitive surfer, and she won the World Juniors this year, under 16 women. So she's not one.
Pretty motivated, eh?
She is. She's a weapon.
Yeah.
She's a very competitive young lady. Combination of.
So she's also got the fire. She's got
fire. Oh yeah, she's got fire. And my wife Vanessa was a competitive athlete too. So, I think
genetics.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said. And then growing up here, right?
Yeah.
And really surfing when COVID kicked. So she's only been surfing for like 4 or 5 years now. But COVID was obviously we could see it for what it was. Good, the bad, and everything in between. For here, it was like there's no one here. The waves have never changed. Hardly anyone out. It was like the 70s from what people told us. So my kids are that's just a playground. And for me as well, once you got past that initial shock of holy shit, yes, the world's coming to a standstill, especially here, which we were relying upon tourist dollars. And then years into it, it was like, well, actually, just slow down. Let's see how far we can stretch a dollar.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids have been my biggest lesson, gift,
achievement.
And it continues to be, there's no manual, as you've got kids. And as they get older, it doesn't, you think in some ways it becomes easier. You get to sleep more, you get to have more freedom, but still it's like they can, you're responsible as a parent. So my kids, I love my kids. And Vanessa and I have been are a good partnership. So part of my story today is you asked me where does that energy come from? I'm a meditator, so I meditate pretty much every day. It could be 20 to 40 minutes, depending. And I find that to be a great resource for recharging, but also getting inspiration. And just feeling tuned in, connected to the great reality, you know what I mean? It's hard to put a name on it, but you all have a different understanding and perception. But I find meditation for me enables me to just get quiet, but, get grounded and connect. And it's been a godsend, for lack of a better word, for me in my process over the last few years. Like I could tell you lots of different things, but I've been to India a few times over the last few years, and I sit in an ashram. But it's a total non-denominational ashram. It's like I teach it. It's not like you gotta do this mantra, you gotta eat this food, you gotta believe this, you gotta worship this. It's like, but the teacher there, his name was Ramana Maharishi, and he taught a meditation technique. It's not even a technique, it's just self-inquiry. You just sit and go within and ask, who am I? All right? And for me, it's been incredibly empowering because it basically, just when I go into sit and get quiet and have that beautiful experience of a higher reality or, a different level of consciousness, it also enables me to be more of a conduit for creative energy. So my motivation and the energy is from a kind of an internal source, or you could even say it's an external source, something greater than myself. And for me, I've told you before, I've been in recovery a number of years, and that to me has been the foundation, the baseline for me to slowly over time become a better human. And I mean, better human, I suppose when I break that down, is just less selfish.
Got it.
More giving. And I still, I struggle, I think it's a human frailty, right? Of learning to be more giving and less selfish. there's more to it than that, obviously, being in the human experience. But coming back to the question of where do I find that energy?
Yeah.
That's where it comes from for me.
Got you. Did you start meditation prior to you saying no to your addiction, or did that happen at the same time you needed to fill your mind with something that would help you cope with that?
Yeah. When we're talking about addictions,
Yes.
I think it's very important to put things in place of the addiction, the behavior. It's like thinking. So we have 40,000 thoughts a day, give or take a few thousand, right? And there you are. And my friend who does Vipassana says the mind is like a drunk monkey that's been stung by a bee. It says like bouncing from branch to branch, from thought to thought, from idea, from fear to, whatever, resentment to whatever, gratitude, whatever kind of thought may be crossing the mind. And with addiction, it's that behavior that's preceded by that insane thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea to act out in that way, whatever it might be, whatever form the addiction takes. And then you engage, and then it
spirals.
Yeah, it just snowballs, right? Cool. So for me, I was fortunate. I had an experience preceding recovering or stopping acting out in that way, facilitated by a series of events. And I was able to basically stop, you could say, on my own volition. And then, it's been almost 30 years.
Wow.
So it's been a while.
It's a long time.
So in that time, I've grown up without engaging in a lot of those behaviors. Doesn't change the fact that the mind is still very active, So meditation for me has been I've been practicing for a few years, but consistently now on a daily basis for a few years. Engaging, they say 20 minutes is a really good point to slow the whole, the body down and slow the mind down, different brain waves, theta, gamma. 20 minutes is a good number. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and whatever I think is beneficial for all humans. And, we could also say, well, music, you go into meditative state. Surfing, you go into meditative state. Walking in nature, breathing, there's lots of different ways now to, the word meditation, I think, has a lot of connotations. For me, I sit and I get quiet. And then I also engage in the world, like I'll surf and I'll play music. But for me, that sitting and just being quiet has facilitated a much more peaceful life. I don't react, I respond generally, and that's important. So it didn't start prior to addiction, but I've always been a searcher. I've always been interested. There's more to life than this three-dimensional realm we live in. I think the Balinese proponents of that, they are constantly saying prayers to the unseen world, unseen realms, that dimension that lies beyond, the third dimensional or our sight. So yeah, the addiction and that aspect of my life story has been a real lesson to push into, being, I think addiction fundamentally is the most selfish thing someone can do, in spite of everyone and everything around them, right? Me, I, self, me. We talk about the isms. And then the other side of that is learning to be more giving and more loving and more patient and more tolerant, more kind. So, and kids help us to do that, right? For sure. That's to me one of the big lessons. Like I tell my kids, look, it's not black or white, but there are two types of people in the world, givers and takers. Sometimes you have to take. You have to, for the benefit of yourself.
Especially when you need help.
Yeah.
You need to take.
Yeah.
Take advice. And that requires humility. And I think that's a different type of taking to taking for selfish gain.
Yeah.
Taking when you need help, taking when you need advice, taking in information, taking in their opinions.
Yeah.
I think it's a very different take.
Yeah.
But it's a take that's needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in this world, we look around, you just look at the nature of our current global situation. It's just like division and fear and hatred and war and us and them. It's just it seems to be a part of the narrative behind. And it's like, well, where's that getting us? Obviously we can have our opinions and think, well, that's wrong and that's right. But really, where is it getting us? It's like the world is teaching us, the world is teaching our kids, you need more, you need to be better. You need to, what I mean? The ego, feed the ego. It's like, at what point that we're talking about, like, the world cleansing itself. Well, once again, living in the present is really important because there's no fear there in relation to that. But it's like, what's the world teaching? Mostly, not all. There's lots of messages out there and lessons from the other side saying, well, we need to be more tolerant. We need to be more loving. We need to be more kind. But we need to have strong boundaries. And it's really important, like strong, clear boundaries. What we can accept, what we can't. But at the same time, it's like, with my kids, I tell them, look, learn an instrument, learn a language, learn how to cook, never stop surfing and snowboarding. You know what I mean? If I give them any other advice, it's obviously, be loving, kind.
Yes.
I hope I'm passing it on to my kids.
Treat others as you would want to be treated. It's quite simple.
A great master a couple thousand years ago said exactly that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of deviated, but
no, it forms part of who you are and what you're about, and I appreciate it. Tommy Carroll's quite every now and then I go into his live, and I sit with him with his meditation.
I love Tom. Tom's different. I've done a few lessons with him, 2 experiences with him over the years.
Oh really?
Yeah. Tom is we won't use the word legend lightly, but he would definitely be in that category.
Yeah,
considering who he is.
All under that title. And I mean, for him as well, to have shifted from like a heavy addiction that for many years remained hidden to most, and to now be this, like, as you say, legend of a human being who just gives and gives and gives and has the light of day for everyone under the sun, and just shows you the power of introspection and self-care, self-love and self-appreciation, but not in a selfish way, because I think there's also a lot of that misconception happening right now in the world where there's this whole self-love vibe, but we're not talking about selfish self-love, like it's all about you. It's about caring for your mental and spiritual and conscious state first, and then serving others essentially, and being there for people and being more. It's another thing that children teach you is to be present, right?
Totally.
In the present, and to be there for them, because the minute you start to rob them of your presence in whichever way, you could be physically there, but you could be non-present with
it's easy too.
Yeah, especially with the digital age. So yeah, we can learn a lot of lessons from the youngins.
Oh, seeing the world through their eyes is so much simpler. As you get older, we have all these, behaviors. We learn behaviors and patterns and traumas, you can say. That's another buzzword nowadays,
Yes.
But I look at it, for me today, in my experience, I'm not a victim.
Yes.
I don't look at it like, you can see in the world as, I am fully empowered and I make decisions and I get to choose actually who is in my circle. Maybe that's age.
Yes, I think as you get older, you become more attuned to the types of personas, and you kind of can spot the wood for the trees very early on.
Yeah.
With people.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get cognizant of those that you would like to associate yourself with.
Totally.
And then those that you'd. But again, bad associations spoil useful habits. I keep using these, but you put a rotten orange in that bowl with a bunch of good ones.
Yeah.
And there's a life lesson right there. Pretty soon that whole bowl's going to be.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen the other way around, unfortunately.
And we also live in a world that's far from perfect, and so we need to. We're of the world. We're always going to come across different people and energy, but I suppose it's what we take on and what we leave. Like a teacher that I work with, he often talks about, like, so we have these thoughts, whatever they might be, and the ones we attach the cart to are the ones we roll with. So choose your thoughts.
Yes.
Choose your thoughts, and thoughts create words, which create, actions, which then create behavior. It's powerful when you have that foresight or that awakening or awareness to the power that we hold within ourselves.
Surf industry is becoming so aware of, I'm talking about the smaller brands, the new up and coming, and I chatted to Barton Lynch about this, where he, like, basically said there is no more surf industry, you know, that there is a new surf industry emerging, you know. The point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot more collaborations happening, and brands and people are willing to be more collaborative in the surf space. Do you agree? Do you think
Barton, huh? I love Barton. Yeah.
Do you agree? Do you see a lot more is that happening here in Bali? Do you see brands collaborating quite a bit? Or not?
That's a good question.
Because I've seen a lot of it. I've seen a lot of brands like doing collabs, not necessarily with other brands that, you know, make t-shirts, because that would be a little bit confusing, but they'll collaborate with like a
environmental organization,
or they'll collaborate with an NPO or an NGO. They'll collaborate with an artist. They'll collaborate with
extreme sports companies.
That too.
Well, they're the ones who have the money. I mean, the amazing is in the industry, it's like, you know, Red Bull, Monster, these companies, the ones that, you know, basically peddling sugar, are the ones like in Indonesia, it's like the companies is the cigarette companies and the alcohol companies. Generally, not always.
Yeah.
So I deviate from your question again.
Yes.
Collaborative work with, I think.
Do you think is more prevalent in the surf industry than most?
I think generally we're surfers, because we're in nature, intrinsically, we tend to be more connected to nature. So therefore, extending our lives, we're like more interested in sustainability and, you know, I suppose more natural living. But I don't think that's always the case. I think there's this, surfing's now become so mainstream and so popular. It's just like, you know, like a sport, like a sport as opposed to the lifestyle thing. You know, take Mikidora, for example, you know, as an extreme example, you know, you just saw the death knell coming as well. You know, it's just like, you know, you can see it's just becoming mainstream. You know, there goes the underlying, you know, soulfulness of our sport or not sport lifestyle. Collaborative, I think it's good. I would say that's you know, I probably need to share something, just because it's important in relation to this subject as we're being recorded, and just for the sake of being transparent. I'm actually endeavoring and engaging in a new business right now up here at Uluwatu. I'm creating a little concept zone. It's going to be a board store, surfboards and hardware, a cafe, and a surf shop. Now I'm actually working with Ripco, and I'm doing a search concept with them. So the search is what they've done here in Indonesia with their, you know, kind of expeditionary, Derek, Tom Curran, you know, nowadays Mason and Steph and
Frankie overall.
Yeah. So I should just say that because I am actually working with them, and I am looking forward to it from a creative point of view, creating something really cool, the DNA of Indonesian surf exploration combined with the core surf product, right? And some might say, you know, it's removed from drifter, or, you know, it's like a, you know, for me, it's just a different expression of creative energy and doing something cool. I'm working with a company that is pretty cool. Okay, talk about surf companies. We're talking about the main big box brands. Mentioning no names, I look someone like Ripco, and they're still surfing. The management's still surfing. They have an insane team and expression. So, yep, I'm not trying to blow smoke up any drafts right now. No. But just being candid. Yeah, just to be candid and honest. Right, that's what I'm doing. So when I talk about collaboration, let's just say with them, yeah, they collaborate with artists, they collaborate with companies, beach cleanups. Yeah, I think collaboration. I mean, Barton, that's an interesting one, because what is the surf industry? You know, what are we talking about exactly? We're talking, there's almost a couple of different things. It's almost a disconnection. It's like surf adventure travel, right? You need to have your gear, which fundamentally what we need is surfboards. It's what I love. Well, willow.
It's kind of, you're not going to surf without one.
No, you're not going to surf without one.
Your body surf.
Yeah, you could,
Yeah.
So, and then with that comes, well, if you're going to surf cold water, the advent of wetsuits is beneficial. So let's look. There's wetsuit companies. There's, there's Cut and Sew in Japan. Like I have some Dove wetsuits, fitted. The most epic thing ever to have a Japanese fitted wetsuit. And then you have, you need your hardware, your fins, your deck pads, your leashes, your wax, your sunscreen, right? So it's like these are things that are necessary for the journey. When you strip it back to its most simple form, it's like, well, then we want to go to the Mentawais for Mexico, or take a pick of 1,000 different Nicaragua or whatever, right? Then you need, you got to travel there. It's like the industry is like, okay, well, define the industry. Then you have the companies that are really erred on one end of the spectrum. Patagonia, for instance, is all about, 1% and, wetsuits that are sustainable. And then the other end, you got your big box brands that are just trying to flog as much as they can for as little as, So, and then in between that, there's us, right? And everything in between is like your daily surfing, it's driving down to 5 in California and surfing any one of those beach towns, or you have your Indo adventurer who's going far and wide all over the archipelago. And then you have, there's thousands of iterations of that. East Coast Australia, there's it's what is the industry? I don't think the industry's dying. I don't know what Barton said. I don't want to disagree with you, Barton, but it's morphing, it's changing. There's room for, there's a niche, but then there are these players who are still there playing the game and doing the best that they can and creating necessary tools and implements for us to maximize our fun.
I think maybe, well, what you've described with Ripcord is, it's a collaboration of you and them. And maybe because they would be perceived as a big brand, wouldn't they? Globally.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's clear as light of day that they're enlisting people to help them change maybe the persona or the perception that people have of them as a bigger brand, to create spaces and create and align with people that can bring that coreness, sort of not back, but back to light, and to the space that you're going to be creating there is going to be very different to a Ripcord store in a mall in like LA or wherever, Sydney. It's going to be very different. And therein lies the change. But yes, they're still there. I guess they're just not there in terms of being on the stock market as big as they were at one point. All the big players.
Well, they are now public. They're owned by Kathmandu. Yes. So they are technically on the stock, on the stock market, beholden to the corporate dollar.
Yes. But
anyway,
yes, we digress.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, at the end of the day, I love to surf. So whatever the excuse is to be close to the ocean, to do what we do, I mean, it's just a vehicle to the means, and I love sharing it with my family,
And you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Doing a great job. And I mean, we're keeping a close eye on Ziggy and
yes. And Ziggy, I'm keeping a close eye on Ziggy too. Yes. So you to see where she goes, because there's one thing when, it's like I'm her dad, and at one point I had to step away.
Okay.
As in any shape or form, as far as giving advice or input.
Was it, Dad, you're living your life back here?
Well, it's just like, Dad, just be my dad. That was it.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And she's got, for Ziggy, we're talking about Ziggy. Ziggy's got a manager.
Yeah.
She's part of a team. She's got coaches. I can definitely, if she asks me, and she has asked me once or twice, I will volunteer. But generally speaking, she's got her own path, and she's strong. And more important, she's surrounded by good people who I've helped to navigate. So, I'm still obviously in the background, and I'll be always in the background, making sure that, she knows.
It's pretty cool to see that come back around, and as you say, people that you've helped and in some way guided. are now doing that for your daughter.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the most profound experiences of my life, watching her do what she does. And, this year winning the World Junior Under-16 women's title in El Salvador, just to be present.
Yeah.
It was like a spiritual experience, you could say, With Vanessa, we were both there.
So you've got the new concept store coming up.
Yeah.
You've got a little establishment that's happening a little further down the coastline.
Yep.
Do we give away the location?
Yeah,
Belangen. There we go.
On the road to Belangen. It's called Bolt Cafe.
Bolt.
There's
As a
lightning bolts. Yeah, there's a number of lightning bolts, and I've been collecting, so I've got a pretty cool collection of lightning bolts. Like that.
Yeah. Flash up effect.
That's
That's a special one.
Yeah, it's a Reno Avalera, and he will probably won't be shaving any more balls anytime soon. So it's a beautiful one.
How many bolts do you have?
I have about a dozen.
Okay.
I have Jerry's, I have Rory Russell's, I have Rawson, I have Reno, I have a Pang, I have a few. So I have a few. I've been collecting balls.
Bolts collector. Oh, hello. Here's my new best friend.
Merlin.
Huh? No? Are you good?
Yeah,
Jake.
Bolt's down there. Bolt's coffee. We're going to do some basic foods, but I'm doing it with my brother, and it's kind of like surf vibe. So, energy on the road to Belangen. Belangen's a great wave.
Yeah, beautiful. We were down there the other day.
Yeah.
Firing.
Yeah, firing. Goes off. So.
Awesome.
Yes.
So if you need a coffee, Belangen is the place to go. Bolt Cafe. We'll leave all the details down below. Jake Mackenzie has been in Bali for a long time, creating amazing spaces, collecting amazing boards, raising beautiful children, one of which is an amazing surfer. So, I think you made it out. I think I can say, well done, Jake.
Thank you, Steve. Lovely to meet you. It's been
likewise
communicating over these years, and finally meeting.
Yes.
And having you in my house.
It's lovely to visit.
Sharing a conversation with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.